So I wanted to go over some combat news today. One of the first big ones is going to be Conor McGregor loses a sexual assault civil case in Dublin, found liable for assaulting Nikita Hand. It is funny they call it assaulting when it basically is rape. He lost his civil suit, blah, blah, blah. Basically what he's going to do is have to pay out this. So the difference between a civil suit and a criminal is criminal will require you in many cases to face jail time or serve some sort of penance of some sort. So if you think of like if you do a DUI or you get in a hit and run or something like that, there's a good chance you're gonna have to like go clean up trash by the side of the road, community service, that kind of stuff. In this case, it's just monetary. Conor's gonna have to pay out here $260K, it looks like. Hand, 35, claims she was raped by McGregor and another man, James Lawrence, in a penthouse suite at the Beacon Hotel. The jury found that Lawrence did not assault Hand. Hand testified that she and a friend were picked up by McGregor last December following Christmas party, with the understanding they were heading to another party. After Lawrence joined the group, Hand alleged that Conor shared a bag of cocaine with her and her friend at the back of the car, then traveled alongside McGregor's security team and others to a penthouse suite at the Beacon Hotel. Hand told the court that McGregor isolated her in a bedroom and attempted to make advances on her, which she resisted, stating her discomfort with knowing her family of McGregor's lost time fiance Devin. Hand also claimed that she was on her period at the time of the assault. I was trying to talk him around that I didn't want anything, Hand told the court in an emotional testimony. I didn't want to have sex, and I wasn't there for anything like that. He just wasn't taking no for an answer. He then pinned me on the bed. McGregor kept telling me, relax, baby. He pinned me down on the bed. I remember putting my arms up against my chest. He just kept pushing his weight down on top of me. I remember putting my arms like this to keep him as far away from me as possible. Hand's lawyer, John Gordon, told the court that Hand alleged she was completely unable to push McGregor off and documented extensive bruising on hands and wrist. Conor McGregor then flips her over and puts her arm in a lock and draws her up by her neck. She can't breathe, and he does it again. By the third time he does it, she gives up. Gordon told the court she can't resist this anymore. In the course of this, he now says, now you know what it was like to be in the octagon when I went down 3 times. She was at this point completely terrified. She subjected herself to what was about to happen, which was a violent, vicious assault. Dr. Daniel Kane, who worked in Dublin's Rotunda Hospital Sexual Assault Trauma Unit on December 10th, told the court that he met Hand that day after she arrived at the hospital via ambulance after her mother called the emergency services. Kane testified that he witnessed Hand shaking and crying, and bruising was present in multiple locations across Hand's body. He had me by the neck. He stopped me from breathing a few times. I thought he was going to kill me, Kane said. Hand told him. Kane said he examined Hand and with forceps removed a tampon that was wedged at the very, very top. He ultimately concluded from his examination of her that it was consistent with the outline of events described. So essentially, if you don't know what that means she was on her period, and Conor McGregor raped her while she had a tampon inside of her, and he jammed it up inside of her. So pretty fucked up. Think about that beyond just the obvious rape. I'm going to do my best to say this name. It's Ethany Scrolly, a paramedic, told the court Hand was very bruised and said of her examination of Hand, I haven't seen someone so bruised with that intensity of bruising. Gotta be honest, not very shocked. I'm kind of surprised more of this hasn't come out, and I wouldn't be surprised if this causes more people to come out. I mean, Conor McGregor, there's a lot of videos of him doing a lot of real scumbaggy shit. He cheats on his wife constantly, like blatantly in front of her, and treats her kind of like a slave. Now, a lot of that I think is her fault too. You kind of signed on with this guy a long time ago. You know what you're in for, man. I'm just not surprised whatsoever. Like, not even a little bit. It's kind of like being surprised that Jon Jones did something shitty at this point. Like, it's not shocking. I think, it's kind of hard for me to judge. Like, I'm not sure who's a worse human being, if it's Jon Jones or Conor McGregor at this point. I'm not sure Jon Jones has rape charges against him. So that's, that's a pretty rough one, man. What's worse? I think the rape might be worse. So I think Conor McGregor is now actually taking the lead over Jon Jones as being a piece of shit. Never thought I'd say that. Let's talk about this. So Jon Jones beats Stipe Miocic. Do I think it mattered? No. The video that I made about this earlier, I think, is still correct and still accurate. The fight didn't matter. This was just barely more competitive, in my opinion, than the Jake Paul fight. That being said, do I think that Jon Jones dominated Stipe? No. It was definitely a strong performance, but Do I think it helped Jon Jones look good, and did it help his legacy? No. Outside of extreme fanboys, I don't think most people watched that fight and really thought like, wow, these guys look amazing. My girlfriend watched this fight with me, and she's into fights, but she's not into fights like I am. She obviously isn't going to be, but she doesn't watch a ton of them, and she watched this and was like, man, these guys look really slow. That was her first comment. She goes, both these guys look really slow. And I absolutely agree. I mean, yes, they're heavyweights, they're going to be slower, but these guys look like old men. I am just barely younger than Stipe. I know what it's like to be 40 years old, and Jon Jones moves like he's 40 years old. He was still moving like he's 40 years old, and he's 37. Stipe is 42. The fight was a joke. It didn't matter. It didn't look like Stipe had been training for the last 4 years for this fight. It looked like Stipe had been doing a full-time firefighter's job, and then got an offer to fight Jon Jones and started training for it, and had the attitude of like, yeah, I'm probably not going to win, but fuck it, I'm going to make a lot of money. Stipe did not look like he really wanted to be there. Stipe's not a very dynamic guy, and has gotten away with a lot of his career with just having crazy hard chin, really decent boxing, really heavy, strikes, and a good conditioning. And Jon Jones brought just other tools, right? He brought kicks, he brought takedowns, so forth. He put things more together and looked a lot better. He had a really hard teep. I said that would be a factor. I just think Stipe didn't have a good enough game overall to be able to be competitive, and then also had lost the attributes with age that would have allowed him to be more competitive. That being said, this almost went to a fourth round, which is kind of wild. Watching that made me realize just more so that Jon Jones is probably going to get beaten by Stipe. Correction. Jon Jones is probably going to get beaten by Tom Aspinall. It doesn't mean anything. The fight was meaningless. It didn't help his legacy. If anything, I think it turned more people against him. I don't know, man. It was unnecessary, the same way that the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight was unnecessary. Nobody wanted to see it. Nobody cared. It was a joke. Peter Yan versus Figueiredo this weekend. I think before I saw these betting odds, I was going to take Peter Yan. These betting odds are getting pretty wide now. If you actually look at them, it is Yan is a minus 300. Figueiredo is a plus 250. That seems a little steep. I understand why people are doing that. Jan, I think, has faced harder opposition for sure. He's fought at a higher level consistently, I think, for a longer period of time. A lot of people are going to be like, well, Figueiredo's fought, the best of 125. Look, 35 is a deeper division than 25. 25 has the same problem that heavyweight has. You just are dealing with such a small group of people. You're not going to have as deep of a division there. Plus, also, like, there's other organizations in the world that have really good 25ers just because of where they're at in the world. One's not amazing, but you definitely have some good 25ers there. Demetrius Johnson, is just retired, but he was there. I do think that 25 is a weaker division than 35 overall. That being said, Figueiredo can put like virtually anybody at 35 out. I've never really seen Jan get like just tore up on defeat. He's definitely gotten kind of like cracked by O'Malley. I would say that's the best example of that one. But I think the reason everybody's taking this is partially Peter has faced what most people consider to be harder opposition. And also Peter is not likely to slow down as the fight goes on. And Figueiredo is. If Figueiredo kind of doesn't like buck him up early, I think a lot of people are kind of thinking that Peter is going to start to take over in the third, fourth, and fifth round, because this is a 5-round fight. So that's another reason. I think if it's a 3-round fight, it's a lot more competitive. I was going to take Peter. Honestly, with these betting odds, I would probably go Figueiredo now, just because I feel like that's a little bit too much of a gap, in my opinion. I'm not really that interested in the other fights on this card overall, so I'm not going to go into deep dives on them too much, but that was just my opinion on this.